प्याज के आंसू रोए थे बीजेपी ने. Arvind Kejriwal has brilliantly understood this fine balance of politics, which unfortunately Rahul Gandhi still has to understand. Whatsoever the anti-BJP or minority vote were to be polarized have already done so.
Hello and welcome to this special conversation. With me, the one and only, one of the foremost psephologists, election analysts, students who still studies elections after the highs and the lows of what had happened in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. Yashwant Deshmukh is with us. Yashwantji, how are you doing?
All well, all well. I hope you are doing well in the Delhi weather and the pollution over there. I mean, it's getting scarier by the day, and to understand that it's still not on the agenda of Delhi election, that makes me a bit upset.
That's the first question which I wanted to ask you, Yashwantji. What is it that's really at stake? Is there a single issue that in your uniform polling, constant polling that you've been doing, is it a single issue that you can turn the spotlight on or put your finger on, which really is in the political hat in this Delhi election season?
Not really. I mean, and Bhupen, if you look into the Delhi history of Delhi elections, you remember the 1998 election. You know, when Sheila Dikshit won for the first time, the single issue was onion, price of onion. प्याज के आंसू रोए थे बीजेपी ने उस समय और सरकार गई, and then they never came back since then. It's been 25 years. And the second turning point was 2013-14 period, you know. But that was, I guess, that when the allegations of corruption against the UPA government actually, kind of pulled down the Sheila Dikshit government, unfortunately for her. So those were the two elections which you can say that, okay, they were the like one single issue game changer election. None of that thing is right now happening. There is no single issue, no single narrative which is dominating the scene. There are multiple things in scattered. Largely, it is partisan, even in that scattering. But Delhi remains a very, very typical swing states or the split vote state, as we call it in India. There are 5 elections in 10 years that Delhi has swung like a pendulum from one way to the other within few months, based on which kind of election it is voting on. So I don't see in the data, in our tracker data on a daily basis, something which is kind of coming up absolutely out of the blue, which is going to destabilize that equation at this point of time.
So it's interesting that you say this, Yashwantji, that you don't see this in your tracker data, and I'm aware that you do it, very regularly, unlike many other pollsters. Since you were speaking about the 1998 assembly elections, I've been looking at data from 2008 to 2013, then 2015, when there was the second round of assembly elections, which was swept by the Aam Aadmi Party, then 2019. It tells me that 2008 onwards, for an election to really switch, for an election to shift in Delhi, you need a third player in the matrix who should be scoring above 10%. Like in 2008, people forget it was Mayawati of the BSP who had polled 14% and she got 2 seats. And what did that lead to? It led to the Congress's vote share coming down to 40%, but it still romped home with 43 seats, whereas the BJP's vote share was at 36%. And that's sort of the region, the area in which the BJP's vote share has remained steadfast. Since then, the Congress has now become a single-digit party. Is there any scope, you think, of a third player emerging in this Delhi Assembly election above 10% for a switch to happen in Delhi?
Looking at the numbers at this point of time, the answer is no. Simply because that, ironically, whenever in the tracker questions we have asked the best chief minister of Delhi so far, majority of Delhi still says Sheila Dikshit was the best chief minister of Delhi. But still, look at where Congress is at this point of time. And just to remind your viewers that even in the last 10 years, twice, on 2 occasions, Sheila ji actually in 14 Lok Sabha and 19 Lok Sabha, she actually made Congress as the number 2 party of Delhi, pushing Aam Aadmi Party to number 3 position. But post her death, I don't think that Congress has been in a position to take back where it stood. Again, ironically, in the last 4 years, the local politics of Delhi, it has been Ajay Makan who has been aggressive opposition to Aam Aadmi Party, be it liquor scandal, be it anything else. The local politics, the opposition to the Aam Aadmi Party was being taken care by the Ajay Pankar-led Congress. But then their alliance with the Aam Aadmi Party in the Lok Sabha election just took everything out of that, and now it is bipolar. And if I look into the data I mean, on a daily basis for the last 6 months, particularly after the Lok Sabha election got over, because in Lok Sabha they contested together and we had to check after the Lok Sabha election. Not even once Congress vote share in our tracker has gone into double digit. Not even once. On the lower end, they went into 2.5%, 3%. On the upper end, they went up to 8, 8.5%. Right now, they are floating around 5. I mean, in that way. So that is not a kind of vote share which could impact any election in any significant way against or in favor of the ruling party.
So what you're saying, Yashwantji, is that despite all that we have seen unfold, the Delhi Assembly election still remains a bipolar election now, as it has in the last decade between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party?
It is going to become even more bipolar, Bhupin, and that is some of a trend which is pan India now. We have seen the bipolarity coming in even in Uttar Pradesh. We have seen how BSP got squeezed out in the assembly election and even in the Lok Sabha election. And that bipolarity we have seen in for example, in Odisha, where BJP came to power, but the Congress was squeezed out. It is BJP versus BJP over there. So that bipolarity is setting in, and Delhi is getting more and more bipolar, and that will reduce Congress further to have any scope of meaningful politics right now. At least at this point of time, data is saying that.
Okay. And we're still, we're still a few weeks away, I mean, from the actual polling day.
Yeah.
But let me draw attention to a comparison between 2015 Delhi Assembly elections and 2020 Delhi Assembly elections. In 2015, the Aam Aadmi Party was at 54.5% votes. The BJP was at 32.3% votes. The Congress in 2015 was at 9.7%. 5 years down the line, in 2020, the Congress reduces by half. The BJP gains by roughly 6%. The Aam Aadmi Party gains by just about 0.5%. How do I read this shift? Do I say that the Congress's demise, in a sense, it benefited the BJP more, Yashwantji? Or is that an erroneous reading of the situation?
Yeah, you are right. I mean, it's basically not just BJP. It's what has happened that Congress has lost the votes in 3 waves. 2013 onward, the first chunk of the Congress went to the Aam Aadmi Party, which was essentially anti-BJP vote. And then the third chunk came out of Congress, which was anti-Aam Aadmi Party vote, but they were not looking at the Congress as the best scenario. So this is the third chunk which is going on now. And you can expect BJP vote to go up at the expense of Congress at this point of time.
Again, no, that's an important point you're making. You're saying even 5 years down the line in 2025 now, if the Congress was to shrink further from where it is, which is at just over 4.5%, if it comes down more, it's the BJP which will gain more?
Yeah, I mean, that's largely because whatsoever the anti-BJP or minority vote were to be polarized have already done so. They have already, in favor of Aam Aadmi Party, they have shifted. And the remaining of the minority votes particularly are pocketed in few seats where some of the Congress candidates still are important players over there. But barring those 4-5 seats, if you say, I mean, if you have to do an analysis of even the last assembly election, you will realize that if you take out 5 seats from the 70 seats where the Congress polled well, you take them out, in the remaining 65 seats, the Congress vote actually falls below 2% on an average. So what is happening here is that the Congress is getting split further. Aam Aadmi Party and is getting beneficial of the anti-BJP Congress vote, and BJP is becoming beneficiary of anti-Aam Aadmi Party Congress vote. So bipolarization is going to be even more acute. It is at this point of time. Still
Right.
3 weeks to go. 3 weeks is a long time. But having said that, look at it this way. A Congress under Ajay Makan, which was very aggressive against Aam Aadmi Party for 4 years, and all of a sudden they became an Aam Aadmi Party ally in Lok Sabha election. And now again, for them, the Arvind Kejriwal is an anti-national. Give me one good reason why should an average anti-BJP voter be trusting Congress on that?
Well, and by the way, that anti-national press conference which Ajay Makan wanted to do never really happened. And we openly asked him, and there has been no answer so far.
So it happened, but it did not happen. So the message went out, but it was never said. But still said, all said and done. I feel for Ajay Makan because he really worked hard on the ground for a few years. But that was undone by the Lok Sabha elections.
But so let me, just on the data point, the last question, then I'll move on to the more quantitative part, the qualitative part. Do I understand from you, Yashwantji, that for a switch to happen again in Delhi, either one of the two things has to happen. Either the Congress's vote share goes up to 10 to 12%, which you say unlikely to happen given your theory of bipolarity, or for the Aam Aadmi Party to come down from 54%, lose roughly 10%, and the BJP from 38% to go up at approximately that margin. Is that the story in pure numbers of Delhi?
Yeah, that's pretty much the story. And if you look into the data, the 22% gap between AAP and the BJP 10 years back, it shrunk to 15% gap 5 years back, and it is going to shrunk further. So I don't see, I would be very surprised if the lead of Aam Aadmi Party is in double digits anymore. It is going to be a single digit lead in vote share, and it is going to be shrinking further and further as we come closer to the election because of the bipolarity. Having said that, even say a 4 or 5 point lead in a bipolar contest is a significant lead. It's a huge lead. So what you can expect? I mean, if you have to do a scenario, what is likely to happen if the elections were happening today? Aam Aadmi Party seats might be going down, but if the elections would have been happening today, they would still come up with a comfortable majority, probably.
Okay. So on that point, that if the elections were to be held today, the Aam Aadmi Party would have a comfortable majority. Let me ask you this, you're not in Delhi right now, Yashwantji, but wherever I go in Delhi, I find as far as the election campaign is concerned, to be completely focused on two things, Sheesh Mahal and Kejriwal ka jhoot, as far as the BJP is concerned. In your tracker, are you picking up any traction as far as this Sheesh Mahal business is concerned?
I think Sheesh Mahal or narrative of Sheesh Mahal has done more damage to Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal's reputation than him going to the jail. Because in the MOTN series, we have been asking this question for a few years now that, all these jail yatras of opposition leaders or the ED or the CBI raids are more of a politically motivated. It has been a partisan issue. BJP supporters say, "Acha kiya, bahut acha kiya," but the opposition voters say it is politically motivated. So that was not damaging. But I think he is under tremendous pressure because of the narrative around the Sheesh Mahal thingy. Make no mistake, Bhupen, that the halo, the aura of anti-corruption crusader, that thing is no more there. Aam Aadmi Party is no more seen as a party with a difference of sort. But yes, they are now seen as a much better currency in politics. That is the governance or delivery of the scheme, whatsoever they have promised, and the freebies largely. There has been a fear factor in many of the earlier polls that we have carried out among the bottom of the pyramid 35% voters, that if the BJP comes to power in Delhi, they will take away the freebies. And that fear factor was so significant that even Prime Minister Modi had to actually say in the campaign, we will continue with the freebies. So see, in this, the biggest difference is in this campaign, BJP is unable to basically charge on the Revdi culture thing, because that culture thing is something which is set in, number one. BJP has to actually reassure the voters, we are not going to take the schemes of Mohalla Clinic or for that matter, free Bijli and Pani thingy away. If they really want to swing that, precisely the voter you just mentioned, that if 10%, 5% Aam Aadmi Party voters have to shift toward the BJP, that assurance has to go. By the time that assurance goes or not, we have the third biggest vote chunk in the history of Indian election. After Mandal, Kamandal, now we have Bhumandal or the Abha Mandal, as we talked after the Jharkhand and Maharashtra elections.
Yeah.
And we discussed it that day, and you remember I said that just see, everybody is going to follow that norm, and Aam Aadmi Party, Arvind Kejriwal followed it. 1,000, 2,000, Congress 2,500. We are just waiting how much BJP is gonna say they will deliver. It would have been really nice for Kejriwal if he would have managed to give at least 1 or 2 installments before the elections. That did not happen. But on the delivery front, he has that kind of trustworthiness among the voters that if he has said that he will win and he will deliver those kind of schemes, he might deliver. So again, it is going to be the female voters, Bhupen, who are going to call the shot.
And how very interesting, Yashwantji. Let me just draw our attention. Just like few minutes back, I've just tweeted and I saw that you retweeted it as well. The State Bank of India has come up with a report about what were the factors which led to the BJP's success in Lok Sabha elections and what happened in Haryana and Maharashtra and Jharkhand. And one of the critical parts which has emerged is that in every state where you bring in one women-oriented beneficiary scheme, the commensurate growth in the overall voting turnout is 7.5 lakh votes per scheme. Is that the reason why we're seeing in Delhi, whether it's the Congress or the BJP or the Aam Aadmi Party, everyone is basically making the same commitment that we'll give you X amount of money. Women of Delhi, we're going to give you X amount of money straight in your bank account. Women of Delhi, we're going to make the Delhi metro ride free for you. Women of Delhi, we're going to make the Delhi bus ride free for you. Is that it's not corruption, but it's this factor which is the biggest factor in Delhi, you say?
Of course, not just in Delhi, Bhupen. It is going to be the biggest factor across India from now onward. I mean, you see, Mandal was caste. Kamandal was religion. That was the contest, the core contest, caste versus religion kind of thing, an umbrella Hindutva versus different fine nits of the OBCs and SC, ST and like that. And then all of a sudden you are looking at 50% of India who doesn't really give a shit to caste and religion. I mean, that kind of rebooting, I'm not really sure if the political parties are still understanding the kind of change that has happened. I genuinely believe Shivraj Singh Chauhan has pulled out a genie by mistake, which nobody can put it back. Ladli Behan Yojana kind of thing. And all of a sudden, everybody is realizing, forget about all these minor peaks here and there. Here is a 50% big chunk. Just address it. And that chunk is not the Labharti thing. This is where I disagree with many of other colleagues because they tend to club the female thing into Labharti thing. I'm sorry, it is not. It is not a freebie. Because a freebie or an election largely to the male voters in the 75 years run-up, Bhupendra, we have seen, is a kind of a use and throw kind of a thing. Okay. But a money directly credited to females' account is not a money which goes into liquor and tobacco and entertainment. Sure. That money goes into the overall welfare of the family, be it medicine, be it food, be it education. So that kind of monetary compensation or monetary points to female voter is very different from any other freebie that any politician can actually imagine.
Okay.
And this is very different and it's a different animal altogether. We are at an inflicting stage where Delhi election, I believe, will be another one where the female voting intent or female voting behavior is going to decide. We still have to see. I'm not saying that it is going one-way traffic for the Aam Aadmi Party because still BJP hasn't come up with their offer in that way. And BJP has scored big time in Haryana and particularly in Maharashtra.
Right.
They put up a stunner because of the Ladki Behan scheme. So people know about that. It's not going to be easy cakewalk for Arvind Kejriwal like the last 2 elections, but he still manages an advantage on account of that.
Last question then, Yashwantji. In 2020, there was also the unfortunate Northeast Delhi riots episode, which had played out in the national capital, and that had led to questions of polarization. Now, in 2025, given the fact that the rank and file of the Aam Aadmi Party was in jail, given the fact that Arvind Kejriwal has not managed to give the kind of money that he was promising to give to the Muslim priests, he's now come up with an 18,000 rupee, bonanza for the Hindu temple priests. Where is the polarization question, the religious polarization question in the national capital? How is that playing out in your tracker?
Well, Arvind Kejriwal has brilliantly understood this fine balance of politics, which unfortunately Rahul Gandhi still has to understand. That you don't really have to be you don't really have to be anti-Hindu to become pro-Muslim. And you don't have to be seen as anti-Hindu to be seen as pro-Muslim. Arvind Kejriwal knows very well that the Muslim voters, in order to defeat the BJP, will vote for him in huge majority of the seat, no matter what his stand on Rohingya Muslim is, no matter what scheme he puts out for Granthis or for the Pujaris. So he has understood that. And he is going to play it out. And by the way, it is not just Arvind Kejriwal who has understood. Remember that the similar understanding was shown by even Akhilesh Yadav in Uttar Pradesh. He did not give Yadav candidates, apart from the 4 family members, or big-time Muslim candidate. He did not actually campaign on the Muslim front, on over-aggressively Muslim campaign in that way. He understood Muslims have one place to vote, that is Samajwadi Party, and he has to play it safe, let it go of polishing it off and washing off the pro-Muslim or anti-Hindu kind of image that BJP has built for Samajwadi Party. So the thing is, Bhupen, you can very well win elections in India being pro-Muslim. No Hindu has a problem with that. But I think the hard lesson for the Congress to understand probably is that it's very difficult to win elections in India with an anti-Hindu image, with the BJP has been so aggressively pinning on the Congress for the last 3 decades now, and more effectively in the last 10 years. So Arvind Kejriwal can play both the games. We'll know the results in 3 weeks. But yeah, I mean, he is being very aggressive on the Hindutva front. Because he knows that Muslims in Delhi are going to vote for him no matter what.
All right. On that note, Yashwantji, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks so much for turning the spotlight in such a focused way on what's happening in the national capital. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.